Last time on the Empire's Edge.
We'll have a good idea if there's anything around there.
I say go for it. I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm getting more and more curious though. What's down that last passage that we didn't go, and it's gonna haunt me until the day I die.
It's a portal that takes us to the surface. Not what we're here for.
Exactly. I squeak as loud as I can and try and get y'all's attention to say this way. Squeak, squeakity squeak, squeaking.
Squeaking. Well, only way out is through.
Incoming.
Yeah, hunkering
right.
down.
Yeah.
Knock an arrow.
Bracing.
So when you hit it, it immediately drops. And at this point, you hear a voice, each of you, in your head. And it says, "Sister, cousin, stop this violence and let us talk." So as they're still moving toward you and around you, you hear that voice in your head. All of these creatures moving near you are parting out of the way. And there is one moving like around the bend and over that slight rise that is walking on two legs. It has shields being held by two of its limbs, and it's holding swords, or more like pikes maybe, in its upper two limbs. And that is moving into your direction now.
Does it seem larger than the ones that are just walking in front of us?
Well, it only
Since
seems
it's upright?
Yes.
Height-wise,
Yeah.
it seems
no,
larger,
but
yeah.
I don't. I mean,
It looks like how one of these would look if it was like suddenly only on two of its legs, like balancing on its abdomen.
Okay.
And but no larger otherwise.
yeah.
in
If it was
form,
down
in
like they
mass.
were, it would be the same
About
size
the same
as they
size,
were.
yeah, it seems about that same size. That one moves forward to just outside of a normal combat range.
Can I do something? Am I allowed to do something?
Yeah, you're going to take an action, go right ahead.
I want to direct my pixies to detect thoughts. And I want one of them, I have 8 pixies. I want one of them to try to detect thoughts on that one. And I want
Which one are you pointing at?
oh, sorry.
So not only can they not see that, I don't know what you're pointing to.
I want the pixies to cast it on this TV right here, and I want the rest of it to be on this cabinet.
So that one, this more soldier-like one that just walked
Yes.
in? Okay.
Yeah,
so
on that
one,
and then just 7 of the soldier ones. I just want to know, are they like groupthink drones? Like if my pixies cast the spell and can get any thoughts from them, is it just going to be like left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, or will they have individual thoughts?
All right, go ahead. Go ahead and cast it up.
Cast.
All right. So, and you're getting this just telepathically?
Yeah.
Or are the pixies getting it, then have to relate that information to you?
They cast the spell, so I'm guessing that they'd get it
They'd
and then
know
relate it to me.
All right, so let's give us like about a round delay as that information is being exchanged to you. I guess then they're whispering in common in your ear.
Right.
All right, so as it moves forward, it stops before Boris just outside of a typical combat range, so where it looks very much prepared for combat. He is in no way in a calm, relaxed, stood down.
Neither am I.
He is most definitely he'll strike instantly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm feeling a little underdressed, as we're both armored and we both have shield and weapon, but he has 2 shield and 2 weapon.
he does, yeah.
So,
Many
or
much
she,
jealousy.
we don't know. And because she did say she cousins.
Zir, sister cousin.
Sister cousins, yeah. So there could be, in a lot of insect populations that there's a queen, so that we could be dealing with the queen, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah,
terms of
all that
insect
probably
stuff?
made sense,
Doubt,
but let me just see
daughters.
let's see what happens next.
So, okay, but what it said was stop this violence, right? Did it say anything
yes,
else?
That's it. No, that was about where it ended.
Okay.
Now,
and this was in our heads. It wasn't actually spoken.
right.
Right.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing out loud actually spoken. And then
I'm going
what-
to try to think back at it.
All right. What
to
do you
see if
What
it
do you
can,
think back at?
How are we sister cousin?
Okay. So just give a reaction check with that. You are aware of. It's almost like the sound in your head of a person being perplexed, a question that wasn't anticipated, and what you're rejoined with is because you wield the great powers, and it's almost said like, duh.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. That really what I want to know is, could we communicate back, or is this person only? Is it a one way or
Sending,
two
not
way?
receiving.
Right.
Now, as that's happening, and you're just squared off, Boris, ready for to
Yeah.
see what kind of a Cuisinart match you and this thing could get into, that another one is stepping forward. It's not raised up quite as high as the other one, but it actually has some. Well, and that one too. It has, like I said, that gear on it. This one has what's tantamount to gear. It might be like robes of a sort. It could be like ribbons of a kind. But when that one steps forward,
Component pouch, magic orb thing.
a little bit,
Yeah,
that you realize, and again, is it as it comes into view that it is the one that is directing these thoughts. You probably get that first Zelen. And it said, because only those who can wield the greater powers are sisters, but you are different. You are cousins somehow. Now, at that same time, the pixies are communicating to you, and the one they're saying is they're like pointing all those over there, the ones that passed by, which have now stopped.
Yeah.
They are left, right. They're just
Right, okay.
do what told. But that one's the brain.
Got it. Okay. So you are right. We are travelers from above seeking a return to our home on the surface. And I'm going to both think it and say it out loud. So
I'd like to see you say it without thinking.
My teammates know, well, but you know how you can kind of purposely project your thoughts or not. Or at least I know.
So you probably are just saying it out loud.
So that everybody, is aware
Is part
that
of the conversation.
Exactly.
Right. And you actually, even though you didn't know what the context was, you were getting that's Jacob and Boris. You were getting the responses that were being made, but you didn't know until this most recent moment that was Zelen that initiated the conversation. So
now I will say that I do also gain insight into its reasoning, its emotional state, and something that looms large in its mind.
You
from
don't. The pixies do.
I know, but the pixies would tell it to me.
So then, are you shifting your attention to the pixies for a moment?
No, but the pixies can whisper in my ear while I have my attention on this thing.
All right. So then, with this thing first, that it says, "I am Shatazg. You must be sisters, and you should follow us now back to the home."
Insight?
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll it.
Oh, hey, best insight I've ever rolled. 24.
16.
25.
I rolled a natural 20.
Did you guys roll them at disadvantage like before on these things?
Oh, no.
I say, are we still rolling a disadvantage because this is like a more intelligent being?
Well,
Or?
I'll be keeping a 16 instead of a 22.
Nice.
Yeah, but tell me about the facial expressions of an ant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 22.
I would say
your low one was 22?
Mm-hmm.
The low one? What was the high one?
25.
Gee.
yeah, it knocks me down to a 14.
My high one was a 22.
Okay, yeah, you guys are. That was still very insightful. One.
Sorry.
So
Sorry.
each from your own perspective.
Yeah, roll at triple disadvantage. Let's see what your actual low one is.
Yeah, she rolls a natural 20. That so in like walking order, Boris, you're very aware that whatever the one is that's doing the mental talking back there, this one that is just opposite you, it is in no way standing down.
Yeah.
That it is just as combative as what it was. And you're getting no thoughts from it. You're very aware the one back there is talking, but it is equally combative.
I'm mostly gauging maneuvering to get around to what I'm guessing is the caster. If fighting occurs.
If that actually had to happen. Understood. Jacob, that all of these other ones around, whatever their task was, they're not simply frozen in place. Like they all moved to a certain point and then just stopped and there's like one leg poised, ready to go. They're just idling. You know, they're moving
Milling
subtly. They're kind of like, looking about, but seem to not care whatsoever that they are on either side of you. That pulling out, your short sword, you could stab one of these things. That they are in no way in a defensive state, and none of them seem to care whatsoever that one's dead over there, and another one near you is probably very soon to die. That they're in that bad kind of state. It's not even being addressed or even thought of in some way. And Zelen, you're very aware that there is no, as you can tell, emotional context for anything that they're doing. That it seems everything is matter of fact.
Did I get anything from my pixies?
Yes, that there is a looms large, and it is economics. It is the efficiency, the economics of utilizing resources to the best of whatever that is. And you get the idea that whatever that is, the lowest end of resource is eating something.
Got it.
And so on some level, they need to figure out if you're a thing to be eaten or if there's some other value to you
measuring
as beings.
what our utility actually is.
These are my kind of bugs. All right.
And they're big.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Digging a hole, building a fire over it kind of bugs.
All right. So then, without waiting for a response, half of those drones that are around all of you are moving back. They are turning about and moving back up to proceed. The one that named itself as Shatazg, and are already up over the lip and around that little bit of a bend. The wounded one, as it gets alongside that soldiery one, he makes his first move and he strikes down at it and kills it.
The weak
that'd
one?
be efficiency.
The one you had
shot and not killed.
shot but not killed. And then other drones, about 3-1, that were in the other half of the drones, are taking a hold of those bodies of the one you killed and the one that this soldier just killed, and they're waiting apparently for everyone to move.
Yeah, I'm going to make a siegecraft to such the... Well, essentially, I'm weighing up the soldier, I'm guessing, to see if I could take it.
All right, go ahead.
As a siegecraft check for a 23.
You have a very, very good feeling that strength-wise, just the way that they're moving, they'd be really, with those shields, a difficult foe to hit.
Right.
You would think that he would probably have an easier time hitting you than you would have hitting him. That he seems to know what his business is. The weapons themselves, as like a pick, a kind of a war pick, they'll do reasonable damage, maybe even similar to what your hammer would do. And he's got 2 of them. So you think he's fairly considerable
Be a tricky
as a foe.
yeah.
Yeah, that you as a party against him.
I have him on magic capacity, I'm betting, but he might have me in just straight fight.
Something like that.
Yeah, but at a distance, I'm pretty sure I can go.
Well, that's it.
I can Eldritch Blast him before he closes.
That one soldier against all of you would have no chance whatsoever. It's a matter of numbers.
Yeah, do we want to piss off whatever strong magic power
Right,
person?
yeah. I'm going to stand down and start moving with him.
All right, so you're very aware he still doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
All right, and as you are, I guess, are you
I think our
starting to move?
Yeah, and then saying I think our best bet is to go with them for now.
All right, so then
That seems most efficient. I'm going to purposely use that word because I want to try to see if we can start speaking in their language.
all right, so yeah, and it pings back to you as like acknowledgement. As you
supply demand ceteris paribus.
as you step forward, just a little bit of a step, Shatazg moves to one side and is always shielded by the soldier as you pass. But they are apparently wanting you to follow that initial batch of drones, but precede the 2 of them and these last drones that are
Be in the
part of
pincer, as it were.
Yeah, yeah. So between the 2, and then
not a preference.
So
but,
that's a matter of following those drones at that point too.
Yeah.
All right. So, and you do see as they're moving, just for the efficiency of it, and you travel. You're traveling down this tunnelway now, and moving at a very typical walking space for all of you. That you can see why it's polished, Jacob. That the walls where they go around different edges and whatnot, as these things are dragging their bodies over it as they're moving, and they do go halfway up the walls, and they're on the floor, and sometimes they're on 2 legs or 4 legs, and then back down to 6 again. So they move whatever is best for their movement, the best way to move that, and they're just preceding you. Anybody take glances back over their heads or
Jacob,
over their
can
shoulders?
you get any sense of what direction we're moving? Are we going down? Can you tell at all?
Yeah, I can probably get down. I don't know if I'd have any sort of a bearing on north, south, east, west at this point.
Yeah, at this point, you've lost all cardinal direction. You need like a bearing. So give me a survival check on your relative direction from, forgot
19.
my name, Vartengrav. That you can do a relative distance and direction from Vartengrav. That if the main cavern and the actual body, the skeleton of the giant, were running east-west, you would be considerably northwest of that point, just as a reference to that locale.
Okay. All right, so...
Depth, you believe you're going deeper.
Okay. It's not the direction we want to go, but are we still going towards that breeze I was sensing earlier?
You are.
Okay.
And again, you travel for just a mile-ish, part of into a next mile, and the air becomes completely different. And there's a weird smell of like earth, almost like muddy earth. And though it doesn't have the same qualities that you're used to on the surface, it's the closest thing to it here. And when you do come into this cavern that's ahead of you, you notice a number of things right off. One, it is crawling with these things. They're all over the place.
Yay!
There seems to be buildings inside here, but as far as buildings go, it looks as though if somebody had globs of mud about the size of
Basketball.
2 calf hearts, smaller than a basketball, and then started stacking them while they were still like semi pliant. There's a liquid
kind
to
of
them,
wet bricking adobe.
right? And then stacking these things up. Some places they look almost like they were being excreted out of a tube, and some places it's very noticeably individual little bumps, different gaps and spaces, things like that made into different places. And you can see this entire cavern is filled just all over it with these unusual style buildings. And it looks like more than, say, like a mansion size, it's really a town. It could even be compared to maybe even a small city.
So so these beings seem to have individual spaces that they occupy. And are there a lot like the standing ones, or are most of them like the drone ones?
Well, it looks like even the drones can go into that full standing position to do whatever task they're working on. So that wouldn't be a distinction, in their race.
Okay,
How
now
many
what
are
about
armed?
carrying shields?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. How many have the ribbons and doodads?
You would say something like maybe 1 in 50 as you're looking in
1 in
this area.
50, okay.
have
Which still
the
means
shields and
there's like
whatnot.
100 of them.
But
Has-
as you first stepped into this cavern, though, and just inside it off to the right-hand side, there is apparently another, cast of these things, and those things are significantly larger.
How significantly is significantly?
Well, categorically, going from a medium creature to a large creature.
Okay,
So these things look
man
like
to
they're
ogre kind of a thing?
right. That these things are about like 12-ish,
Yikes.
feet tall.
And how many of those do there appear to be?
Well, the one you see is just the one right here, right now.
Right at the
I'm
entrance.
At the
I'm struggling to
entranceway,
wrap my
right.
head around the size. Can you use like challenge rating or hit points? That might help me.
I could, but yeah, the challenge rating of this thing would be big and scary number, and the challenge rating of the other one would be a smaller and scary number.
So there's one right at the entrance
Right
that we're
inside
coming
the
in.
entranceway,
Do I
right.
see does that appear to be the pattern? There's one at what would appear to be each entrance.
How big is this cavern?
It looks as though you're in one end of a large cavern, and as you're trying to gauge the ceiling and where it goes, it looks like in one direction it continues to go up at a certain angle and level, and then way off to your left it expands to where it's being eclipsed by the buildings that are in the foreground.
Are there like light sources?
There are. Hang on. But when it comes to the actual size of this, where you can see it at different distances, it looks like you could probably fit the cavern of Artengrav into this many times over, dozens of times over. This thing is, well, you think that you could get Karn Keldli inside here.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even a couple of Karn Keldlis
Oh my
inside
gosh.
here. That the thing is the hugest underground place you've seen thus far.
So we're in a city, and right now we're in just like
one edge of it.
one, a manor or a compound or grounds of a house.
It would
in a
seem very much
corner
like
of it.
that, right? Yeah. So no doubt they have their own designs on how you would separate one quarter of a city from another
Right,
quarter of a
yeah.
city. That's not apparent yet, but yes, they brought you particularly to this way into it.
So these the large ones of these, are they stationed around? Like as I glance around, can I say, okay, that's probably an entrance. Maybe that's somebody's importance house. Does it seem random? Does it seem like they're always by an opening of some sort?
You've not seen that much, and again, the distances are so far. You're aware of this one right here, so that'd be a thing to check if you're ever given liberty to go into the rest of this place.
And there are light sources, you said.
Yes. There's nothing burning in the conventional sense, but there are, and this might be your best gauge at what the better houses are. There is definitely magical light that's glowing outside of them at the main door area. So it's a little bit like there's small suns all over the place that are cast, caused to grow in some place. There is some of the same kind of phosphorescence that you see into the darker corners, but mostly you think it is magical light that's running this place down here.
And then what about water, plant growth? I mean, I'm picturing like being inside of a giant anthill, which to me would just be all brown. Is that true down here?
Most of it's stone.
Okay.
And then the very kind of like gray brown of whatever this material is. If they're actually pulverizing stone and doing something to it, and these are either excretions or they're making clay balls out of it and stacking these things around. But very little in the way of plant life. You're not seeing funguses growing just all over the place. There is some, and in some places you'll see where there's some kind of like luminous kind of lichens. But it does have the look of being very stripped of any kind of a vegetative resource in here.
Any water or any of those little cricket
Not that
things?
you've seen thus far. Yeah, cave crickets would always
Interesting.
abound, but again, there are so many of these things. It's like they're the cave crickets,
Right.
and so you don't see a lot of those
Kind
things.
of
just
tides of ants
And
moving around.
the little ants that were leading us in, what are they doing? Did
Okay,
they stop?
But again,
I know they're not little, but they're
Right.
littler than some of
They're
these other
low
things.
to the ground.
Yeah.
the low
Our preceding
drones.
ants. Yeah.
they
welcoming
scatter into
party?
it that you couldn't even differentiate them
Right.
from others that were already here on the putting quotes street, because they've probably all been given tasks right away.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and gauge that, or do that that not perception, that insight again, as you picked up on that Zelen, to see where they're
negative
going.
again?
Still, yeah, it's a disadvantage. I think it's just you because it was your concept for this.
A natural 20 and then a 9.
So what's the modified 9? It's still
18.
18. Yeah. So you are quite certain that this Shatazg, the one that's been speaking to you, the who in them called you sister cousin, that you're pretty sure that she made kind of a movement as she was like her head swung this way and that, and they went to various tasks. So they seem to have been directed by her specifically.
So do we keep moving forward or do we wait for direction? What
You
do
probably
you wanna
haven't
do?
stopped. You're probably
Yeah.
still moving forward with all of them.
Well, now they've scattered, so we don't know which direction
Right,
to move
and
towards.
from there, I think it'd be turning to Shatazg.
Well, and as you're making that turn, the soldier is brushing right by you guys and takes the lead position and is now taking you, like leading you toward
Interesting.
the next place.
I glance over my shoulder. Did another soldier take that one's place to guard Shatazg?
Yes, as you came into it, another one of those that are armed that way did step in. So now there are 2 of them in this, kind of reorganized party.
The way you were going into that phrasing, I thought you were going to ask if it had bumped into anyone else as it walked by, or was it just being rude to us? Did any other shoulders get bumped?
I don't think any shoulders got bumped. I think it went like right past you in like the most efficient
The way he said
route of
brush
actually
past,
hitting.
like I was picturing more than just like came in contact, and more like a New York sidewalk or crosswalk. Like, get out of here, bub.
Yeah, there was no actual impact, but yeah, just like swept right by you. Then you are taking into one of these buildings, and you're very aware of the scent of the place, that it is unlike anything you've had, but it has the almost like if you ever crushed a bug, like crushed chitin, or if you picked up a log and it's almost kind of rotted under there. There's a dull smell of that almost
Kind of
through
acrid.
everything. It is. There's a low acid to the air, that acrid smell, and that seems to be just in everything. Jacob, you notice as you're about to like duck into this entranceway and go in, that it looks like there is one of these things actually made into the wall. But then you realize that it seems to be like a piece of its chitin exoskeleton was actually built into the wall for whatever reason.
Weird.
And
Bizarre.
Any writing or something I can construe as writing?
that's a neat,
That's a
Still
good
using
question.
Power.
that's a
Yeah, look,
neat
right here,
thought.
written on the armor, made in China. Damn it.
That in a way, yes, in a way, no. You're looking at it because you can read all writing because you're
Right,
of your
yeah.
warlock. And which one of the warlocky
Eyes of the Runekeeper.
Eyes of the Runekeeper? Which a great one.
Yeah, right.
So as you're looking at it,
Obviously not well thought through.
there was no specific, by our standard, whether it was cuneiform or it's like cursive English, but it looks like whatever they do to put scent, like a pheromone on something, has been attached to it often enough that it almost seems like a residual that is hanging there, almost like it
A
was
non-script
a
writing.
non-script writing, exactly.
Ah, he found a way around it.
But the point being is
That's amazing.
that you think it might have been, and it's just like sounds, but that it's actually the person's name.
Ha ha, he found a different way to use it.
But it actually seems like it was honorific, as though this structure was dedicated to that
Okay.
particular.
Or this was some other significant figure too. I'm guessing the house we're going to be working for.
Here lies Jim.
A little bit. Yeah, it is a bit just like that.
So are we entering
I
a
think it would
house?
actually
What
be
are we
pronounced
entering exactly?
Well, how do you call it a house? Because it's definitely a structure.
Well, does it have an altar, which would indicate more of a temple?
I was using house in kind of the medieval sense as noble family.
I know, but
Okay.
but I was questioning what kind of building we're entering.
Mm.
Are we entering something that looks like a place we're going to have to fight monsters, like they did the early
Colosseum?
Christians? Thank you.
Well, from the time you first came in, every room or every place looked like a place might be fighting monsters in. Because, and again, as you're
It's kind of
moving,
been our career as of late.
it isn't like you just set fire to it. Remember when you used to do that every single time?
How flammable does this place look?
Not very.
Not stone.
Not
Or
actually.
Or how flammable do these things look?
You
Less
think-
than us.
Yeah, they'd burn less than you.
Dang
They
it.
don't have like fat. We're like naturally tallow burny things.
Yeah, wandering candles.
But to answer your question, Zelen, that you're in a space that seems fairly nondescript. Now, you do recognize with the light sources outside that some of these chitin like body plates are either scraped thin or they're just thinner, like in an early molt, and they are translucent. So light does come in from out there. But then in the very next chamber, there is a
Just
much
windows.
a much brighter light source. And you could do an arcana, but it would seem very much like just a light spell or continuous light has been cast into this place. And in that area, again, there are always these drones moving around, but there are two of the larger ones, call it a shock troop, that are standing guard here that make note of you. And again, looking at them, very ant-like head, but giant, ogre-sized, looking at you. And a couple more of those soldiers are forming like a guard. There's now 4 of them. And the 3 of you have bunched up, and I guess with your pixies in tow as well.
The pixies last for an hour, so as long as we haven't been traveling
Yeah,
more than an hour.
it's not been an hour,
Yep.
nearly that yet. That as you come into this chamber, the one that identified itself as Shatazg, again turns to you, and you hear the voice in your head and says, "At this point, you must disarm before you go before the council."
I can disarm. That's no problem because most of mine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Technically, I can smite with a punch.
right.
And I don't think these things are fiends or undead, so the hammer is just dice roll as opposed to magic powers.
Yeah.
I'm imagining they're smart enough to know what a bow is. So
Well, they saw you using it. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
that
you
could have been
shot a couple
communicated,
guys.
Yeah.
So well done.
So
Yeah. So
that one launches
I'll
pointy
definitely
death at things from
take my
distance.
take whatever short sword. I don't even remember whatever short sword I have.
I
'cause
think
I
you have
haven't
a,
used it
a
in so
staff
long.
and a dagger and some darts.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
right.
so I'll put my dagger and my darts down.
Yeah, hammer.
I'm going to see if I
and
can get through with my staff
Dagger.
because that
Um,
can be helpful.
Yeah,
That might not be seen as a weapon. I haven't used it as a weapon.
alarm doesn't do any damage, so I don't think my spells are going to help us much. But I will.
Well, you can summon loads of beastie things.
Yeah, I can.
All right, so let's go around the table.
Directing my thoughts to Shatazg
Yeah.
as I hand, just to use her, the hammer. This is a holy artifact. I would appreciate it kept safe.
And she doesn't even lay hand on it, but one of the 4 soldiers, reaches forward
Yeah.
and takes it, and then just in an area that's like bench, like built into the wall,
Mhm.
sets it down right over there. And again, as it does that, it's the direction of its head never leaves you as it
Right,
reaches like
yeah.
slightly behind itself and just sets it down and brings its arm back around to, frontwise.
Okay, so they're very familiar with their space, so they have a non-visual perceptive ability. He's tipping his hand. Then, dagger, shield.
Okay, so those things are set there. And when the shield, when that's set down, when you hand that over, it's like a gasp. Shatazg is like that. And then thoughts start to come out, and then they're pinched off. And you believe they might have been being sent to other beings. And it was something to the effect of that it can take its skin off, was about the way that it came across to them.
Do we think that I would have like all my darts rolled up in a kit all together? I would think that they'd be kind of spread out around my body.
Do your thing.
I would have pictured you would have had them like in whatever kind of the pouch, whatever
You
you,
would have-
held this
okay.
thing in, yeah.
Okay.
So they probably wouldn't even know that those are even weapons or that they're even there.
Yeah. But I'm gonna definitely put my dagger and my darts on the table. See if I can not do that with my staff.
All right, so when your staff doesn't go, like when that isn't taken off, there's no voice in your head. But one of those soldiers, apparently independently of being like communicated with that you could hear, points a finger toward it or a pseudo something toward it.
It grows like opposable appendages and points.
What a good idea, Jacob.
Disgusting.
No, it's an existent, like its own little like clawed-like talon.
Points its nub at you.
It points at that, like it's still waiting for you to
Okay,
disarm.
I'll hand it over.
All right, and Jacob, what are you setting down?
Oh, it sounds like they're smart enough to recognize everything as a weapon. So, I guess I'll start with the
They can
sword
see where our
and
hands
the
attach
bow
and where they don't.
and all those things, and see if they are in any way threatened by my quiver, like on my back.
Yeah, so they take a moment, and it set down the sword right away, but when it was handed the bow, it didn't set it down, and again, it seems to be aware that you launched the
Starts
thing,
chewing on one end.
and it tips its head to the side and points at the quiver.
I give it the non-magical quiver that's full of the mundane arrows.
So the other one is also on your back too?
Oh yeah, I had them both.
You
Well,
had
that
them
one's
both out?
no, I guess that one's kind of like no.
I thought
I'll
one
put
was
the other
back, one was hip.
Yeah.
So,
But the other one's capped, so there's no way I was drawing things out of that. So I'll put my quiver down since everyone else is so willing to disarm. I'm not gonna be the only one.
I think I could take them. I'm not sure we could take a city of them.
Yeah, fair. Now I won't try and sneak anything past. I'll
So
take.
it sets the quiver down, and then even before it, like they're making sure that Boris is, well, I guess he's already been disarmed. It starts strumming the bowstring, not like it's pulling it back to its full degree to launch it.
Well, like it's
but
a harp.
but it's like doom 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 like that. When it does that,
Glad we both went there.
But all of their antennas are going up, and it's even the shock troop. It's even the
drones.
Shataz. Yeah, they all do that when this vibration goes through this space, and it doesn't seem like it's not halting them, but they're just like recognizing that. And then after a couple of those strums that way, the warrior, the soldier that's holding it, goes and bends it part back, and there's no arrow on it, but he's now like aiming it as though he would
kind of considering it.
Yeah, and just examining it. It seems like of all the things that they've just taken from you guys, they've never seen anything like
Okay,
this.
So their ranged weapons are
before.
going to be limited to thrown and spellcasting by the sound of it.
And
It's like, be
And I
careful
wonder
with
if they can
that.
be impacted by sound.
Influenced, maybe.
Yeah.
Everything can be impacted by sound. That's
I just
how sound
whip out
works.
dueling banjos, playing it on my bow, like ding 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 ding.
Yeah, you string the other strings on it to make it a harp.
but as Shatazk is now directing you, thank you, and proceed. And as you're moving forward, you get the idea one that Shatazk is not going in. And with the insight rolls, what were your last ones from before?
Like a
18.
12.
Yeah, so with the 18, you think it might actually be a matter of that Shatazk, something in how that was communicated, is not allowed to proceed through
Okay.
whatever this next place is. So
Okay,
it seems
hierarchy makes sense.
to be a pretty big deal that you guys are when they still don't know exactly what you are. And even with that, that one is still strumming the bow and then playing with it. And then I wouldn't call it a scuffle, but it does change hands. And now another soldier has it and is doing almost the exact same things to it.
He took your bow.
And they're definitely like there's gonna be fingerprints all over this thing.
as we walk
I just hope you get it
past-
back. That could
as
be
we walk
really
past
bad.
The one who's been leading us here, like I turn back, it's like I'm going to want that back.
And there is no response.
They might not even
whatsoever.
be able to communicate with you. It might be only task that.
Oh, yeah,
can
that's the one I was
communicate.
meaning was
Oh.
Shatask,
Oh.
whichever one's been guiding us here.
Yeah, so Shatazk just looks at you. There's no response to that statement whatsoever. That
I don't like these things.
getting things back might not have been part of what it was taught to think about.
They treat
Survival
my
to judge
artifacts
what they would
very
taste like. Ooh, 28.
Chicken.
Okay.
Yeah, dirt crab.
Right. All right, then you go through another series of rooms, and again, they have their own drones doing their various tasks, but you're not getting a lot of purpose out of the individual rooms. There's not a lot of peripheral artifacts, at least not in these spaces. But you are now brought before.
Wait, as we went through these rooms,
Yes.
are there soldiers at each space? And were the ones that were following us, are we still being escorted?
You still have those 4 that are the escorts, but the that other sister was not did not.
Yeah,
come
no,
with
I know
you.
she didn't. But are there more? Like, is each one of these
No,
hallways
there's-
guarded?
There's not a new. There's not a
Okay,
new.
interesting.
So it would seem
So
as though
this must be the only way in or out because
And-
they don't need any additional guards to do entrances.
it also seems like that whatever they're guarding against, they're expecting would not be able to even get this far.
Yeah.
That it's that inner kind of place. And as we're going through these different passages and rooms, there aren't stairs in the conventional sense, but sometimes you do have to like reach up and like shinny up into a space that's up a little higher,
Okay.
or drop down into the one to go into the next one. So it's very unusual, spatially how these things are. And then as you,
Yeah, if you've got a natural climb speed and you can climb, I'm guessing about as quickly as you walk, just having seen them,
yeah,
Yeah.
you'd think that they could, yeah.
then you wouldn't really need stairs
Right,
all that
yeah.
much. Yeah.
All right, and then like a different tone, but very similar, like an older version of the same voice, announces itself as Kizgan, and you shall
Kizgan.
follow me to the next region.
Region. Oh man.
I'm betting that's more a translation thing than
Okay.
like time to cross a bridge and some rivers type of thing.
Okay.
Okay, so Kizgan now, and do the guards change?
No, same guards are coming in with you, or coming
Okay.
through with you, and with your own insight, you and again, whatever the is noting that subtleties and how the soldiers themselves move, it's quite possible that they themselves have never been in here before.
Okay.
But they've been ordered apparently
Yeah.
to guard all
Do
of
they
you.
seem, well, I guess we couldn't tell. I was just wondering if they seem nervous about being this deep in. Like, is this a place where people go to get
You've been
punished?
doing the best
you,
with
you
insight.
wouldn't have got that with the rolls you've made, but you have a different thing to look at. If you want to re-roll at that disadvantage, go right ahead. So as you went through one of those, we had to slip down.
18. No,
18.
sorry, 19.
Ah,
19 is your lower one?
Yeah.
18 was my lower one.
Well, she's at a +9. So
Yeah,
she
I
rolled a
know.
10,
It's just
yeah.
incredible. So yeah, you do get that sense. There's no nervousness whatsoever. It's
I'm gonna start using Siegecraft. To
it's a
assess
little
them
more
because I'm
in
not
the
rolling a
case of
disadvantage with that.
if they could experience emotional states, awe, that or honor
Okay.
to be where they are.
Yeah, they've just kind of my own guesses, not Boris's, that they've been kind of hastily initiated into the sacred mysteries to get us to wherever we're going.
Right.
Yeah, that's reasonable. So as 2 of the soldiers precede you, and you go down through one of these lower passages, and then the 3 of you go through it, Kizgan comes, actually is the very last one, the 2 soldiers after that, and then Kizgan, this new sister. And then it walks, the whole group stops, and it walks to catch up, and it takes a hold of your cloak, Jacob, and just lifts it up and drops it back. And lifts it again and drops it. And then
touching me
and
and my
then-
stuff.
They're checking your ass.
and then does the same thing to each one of you.
Okay.
And it says
okay.
out loud, "We didn't know." That it seems surprised by the very nature of your clothing on you. That was they could tell probably when you drop down and it kind of kip off your
Right.
back that it didn't understand what that was or how that even was not part of you. They seem to be very, very curious, but they've never seen anything like that before.
I'm going to think as matter-of-factly as one can think it, we have many mysteries and powers.
Yeah, and then it's responded with, of course. And you proceed. You come into a chamber that is large, and obviously the light coming from it is very, very bright. You can tell that there are multiple light spells in here, and there is a group of these things, 6 of them, that are sitting in a circle. There's a pit area between them. The pit is about 30 feet across, and you are led to the edge of it, and then Kizgan turns to you and says,
6 in addition to Kizgan, or
yes.
Kizgan is one of the 6?
in addition to, and Kizgan says, you are expected to stand in the chamber of waiting. But there is no way down to this thing, and it's about a 10-foot drop. Like they could just crawl over the edge of it and just crawl right down into it.
Yeah.
We're being put in the waiting room?
And well, the waiting room
Waiting
is
pit.
in the middle of this circle, and these 6 of these other ones are all seated around it. And
Okay.
there's this
If I
space
still
between
have the
them.
fairies, I can cast fly on all of us, and we can fly to the center of it.
I'm not sure casting in here is a good call.
It's the fairies that would cast, not
I'm
me.
not sure casting in here is a good call.
Oh, why?
They start to do it. Just
Yeah.
all these spells from different
because
directions.
we're among their leadership, which I'm betting this is a magocracy. So these are also probably high-level casters, and they might react poorly to us just doing
If they're
stuff.
high-level casters, they should recognize a casting of fly.
Yeah, and then they're wondering why. Because that's an up spell, not a down spell.
Okay, so you guys are having this brief conversation, and then Kizgan says, it is a dishonor to stand outside of the area of waiting.
I'll make an acrobatics check to jump down the pit to avoid the damage.
All right, go
If
ahead.
I can hit the ground and tumble. Natural 20.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
Did you really?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so very deftly. And as
so
you're
you're just
looking
going to
back
jump
up,
down there?
he just did.
Yeah, kind of jump
Um,
and tumble.
And as you tumble,
Well,
and
it
look,
was described to us as a pit, so I'm assuming there was a bottom that I.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still falling. Loki. That as you like
30 minutes.
turn and you jump up, none of that council does anything, but the guards that led you in, each one of them are just nodding their head.
All right. I reach my hand up to like give like a like let you guys put
Yeah,
your foot down, and help guide
I'll
you in.
kind of help Zelen down in, and then I guess I'm just going to athletics myself down.
And
Kind of climb on the edge, I guess.
It's like if we're both down here, we might
Yeah,
be able to like get your foot and just like
10
help
feet down,
lower
you
down.
can lower yourself and just drop. At that point, the ground is not that
Yeah,
far
okay,
away from
then.
you. Right, so you probably wouldn't even roll the athletics check if you're doing it carefully. If you're leaping in.
No,
All
I'll
right,
just
so
lower and
you're
drop.
down inside, and the guards stay in their position. They're like, at
Great.
quadrants, yeah. So they did not leave. And as you get down there, you realize that what you're on is a floor made of more of that same kind of like chitin body kind of armor. And it looks like the floor may be the kind of thing that could be removed or taken out, but it gives a little bit, almost like it's made out of like springs, like a leaf spring.
So this
Each
is where
one-
they kill the things that they are not happy with.
Or they drop it into the feeding pods for the younglings.
that it's definitely not a single solid floor or even boards. It has that kind of feeling that either something from underneath could knock things loose, or something from above could kick them loose, or whatever might happen. And it's down there. And then one of them above says, "I am Imyan. What kind of sister are you?"
And this is speaking out loud, or is this still all happening all in our
This is
head?
all in your heads.
Verbally, so the rest of the whole party can hear.
You say Verling?
No,
Verbally, he's
I'm
saying
speaking
out loud.
verbally.
Yeah.
Verily.
Where'd that come
Hearing aids all around.
What?
We don't understand what you mean by sister.
from? And Imyan begins, and go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Can I do a religion check?
No, Arcana.
Are we all entitled
Can
to
I
this?
do
or
an
just
You
Arcana?
can all do Arcana checks. Yeah, sure.
17.
Nice.
Which one's Arcana?
18.
Hey, there you
Begins
go.
with Arc and ends in
Stop stealing my
Cana.
damn thunder.
You can tell that this being is casting a light spell, just a very basic kind of spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then says, "Do you understand?"
I do. And I'll cast I'll use a light cantrip as well.
And again, all 6 of them nod their heads, and you hear 6 different voices saying, "Sisters, definitely. But what kind of sisters? I've never heard of sisters like these."
Sisters from above. Sisters from above the ground.
Sisters from another mister.
Wow. Do you actually say that
No.
or think that? All right. So with that, it's like you can almost like feel the break in your mind that they're no longer communicating with you, but they are looking about at each other and they're having a conversation. And then it comes back to you and says, "You are resource. You are a resource of support. We've waited for a resource such as this, but we still don't know what kind of sister are you." And then one of them says, "It must be tested. Can it be tested?" Another says to all of you or to them, "The test has been made. They are sister." And then one says, "That one's sister. What of this? And of this?"
The only spell I have that has any sort of a visual aspect to it is summoning something.
I'll produce flame.
Yeah,
I'm
you're,
gonna look.
you're the
again,
only one here with
also-
cantrips aside
also
from me.
sister. Also sister.
I'm going to look like the most powerful one here. If they're all doing like light here and flame here, dog like just appears next to me.
And yes, there is like a mental gasp that you just created resource, an offering, a meal. So
They're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
I bite it and it disappears. Oh,
All right, I can show off
you
the
can, food sucks.
You can bite it for a little bit. It's got some hit points.
shield of faith.
And that voice that was the first one to say they are already sister. It says confirmed. They've passed the test. They are sister. So you guys need to do what makes a sister. Yes.
Yeah.
them?
Spellcaster, yeah.
Right. So, but they must be initiates. Initiates, yes. And then the word goes among all of them. To be initiates, you must be initiates. But what should the initiation be? And then again, you are cut off from all of that. And then it comes back up to that they said they must be given test, the initiation of Vidma, and that as Vidma, they shall go to the murmuring sea.
Ew.
Does that have any sort of connotation? Do we understand what that means, or have we heard of that before?
Now, you could make any kind of roll you want.
I don't know, but Murmuring Sea could be above ground, so that sounds good to me.
Yeah. Let's go history.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm betting these are underground landmarks.
18 on a history.
You are positive there's no body of water that you or like in your training with Ashton Garrett you had ever heard of, or checking out maps anywhere, Carnkeldley. You don't recall anything being the Murmuring Sea.
In kind of the brief movement we've had through not only the compound but kind of the surrounding area, have I seen any indicator at all that they've had any contact with the surface? Like even bones or leather or a flower, anything?
As you are thinking that, and you're wondering about that, and the way that light source is, and your eyes have been adjusting to it, it's so bright and so immediately over your heads.
Right.
You are
I mean, kind of
recognizing
wanting to just guiding bolt and blast it just so it's not in my eyes.
that you're now aware of, you've adjusted, that this building, like all the others, is made from the same type of stuff, the same globs.
Yeah.
But you realize one of the globs is not, and it's in the wall right behind one of these things that's been talking through, its mind, that one of these globs isn't a glob, but it is definitely a humanoid skull.
Neat. Okay, so maybe they do have contact with the surface.
Or maybe
Aha.
somebody else got down here like we did and,
And it's
failed.
not a sister.
Mm.
Yeah.
Was
Okay,
resource
I
of
mean-
dinner.
So I think we just keep moving
Yeah.
with this path for as long as it takes us.
So you shall go to Murmuring Sea. Your questions.
What is the Murmuring Sea?
It's a big one, yeah.
That is the place of testing. That is the place of initiation. You shall go there and retrieve the liquid from the Murmuring Sea and bring it back in prepared jars.
Do we have to make the jars?
No, the jar to be provided for you.
Will we have a guide to the sea?
You will have guides. You knew of one. Shatazg shall guide you.
Will we get our weapons back?
Uh,
Is it a dangerous journey? Will we get our weapons back?
There are dangers always in this place beneath the stone sky.
Will we get our weapons back?
They are yours.
Okay. When will we make this journey?
You may go now. If you require food, if you require things,
I look at my compatriots.
you may walk the city. You are now recognized as Mervak. You are sisters but cousins to us. We don't know your place in Chitakdan, but we shall find your place and use your resources accordingly.
How long are you foreseeing us staying here? We have our own business to return to above.
And again, there's something of a flurry between them. That you are recognized as Mervak. You shall fit into Chitakdan. Your place shall be here.
Do you ever go above?
No.
Yeah, above seems to throw them a bit. There are many levels to Chitakdan and to the stone sky.
Well, they
Do
say
you
the
ever
stone
go
sky.
to the place of blue sky?
Have you seen the non-stone sky? Yeah.
Yeah, so you get to the blue sky
Yeah,
one. We'll assume they're not colorblind. I have no idea.
trying to think images. If I can communicate words, I can communicate images.
Yeah.
So you sending images of sky, of forest, of
Grass.
I was thinking Sarntar Azul.
Oh, okay, yeah.
you
Oh,
kind of-
yeah.
Essentially sharing pictorially our objectives as
So-
best I can.
There's no translation for the word itself, but you get the idea as they're saying it, that it's like they say, from above, the demons from above, that you sister to demons from above, you wish to go to hell. As you're saying these things, that they are really shocked.
Yeah. Well, with that, kind of communicating our own urgency with the tasks there, I think the context would less be we want to go to hell and more we want to go back to hell.
Back to where we belong.
And again, you're cut off completely. And then after a few moments, they come back in and they say, being initiated is first to be recognized among clans in Chitakdan. And you're getting the idea that Chitakdan is this city
Yeah,
you're
the
in right now.
cavern, yeah.
Your resource must be used as Mervac and not simply Mer. You'll be allowed places, and then they gesture to each other openly, that other Mer would not be allowed to go. That in all of Inurriak, there are castes, there are levels, and as Mervac, you do not belong to any of them, and we will use that resource, that no one claims you, but then no one holds you at leg's length.
I agree.
I'd like a place to sleep before we begin our journey.
Yeah, how close are we getting to the end of the next day?
Well, I just want to sleep so I can
Yeah.
regain all my spells.
Yeah, no,
Right,
I'm
yeah.
just curious.
You'll be
Recuperate.
tired. It's
Okay.
like, it's
A
like
lot has happened today.
9:00 at night. Yeah,
Um,
it's been a long day.
Before
We will purchase passage to hell with our service as Mervac.
And again, you are cut off completely from like their thoughts. And then it comes back and says that when the balance is changed and Chitakdan is in these minds, we shall show you the way to hell.
I love this phrasing.
Okay.
This is so great.
Go to hell gladly.
You're right.
With pleasure. I've been to
Hey,
hell.
before
It's nice
my
there.
pixies blink out, I'm going to turn to them and say, "You are dismissed. You may leave," because I don't want them to blink out and it appear that I don't have control over them.
Okay.
Oh, I was thinking it's like them disappearing at the end of the spell is much more painful of a death than just saying you were dismissed.
And it does seem that they do note that happened, that they're aware of that they're, again, that nodding of the heads. There's some kind of like a rasping of one of the legs you can't see against another one, if that's applause or approval or astonishment. But you hear this kind of grating sound coming from above there that they seem to be pleased with their choice, that they can use this resource, and you keep demonstrating things of power that they didn't expect to have happen.
Okay, so I guess we rest so
Yeah.
we can regain.
Yes.
And we're buying passage out, I guess.
We'll see what they want us to do for
Well,
it.
either we're buying passage out or we're buying a few levels
now
and
we're
fighting
now
our way
ant
up.
people.
No,
Yeah,
that we're getting a
Honorary
Hope you
ant
guys like
people.
the rest of our podcast where we just live on in our ant life simulator.
So that you are now dismissed, and up near the lip of the thing, at the outer end, after a minute when nothing happens, when you guys are just standing there, one of their, you'll look over the end and you hear Kizgin in your mind saying, "It is time to depart to the place of your resting." And it's
Yeah,
waiting for you to come back out.
Its
I'll give
phrasing is
them-
always so weird.
I'll give them boosties and then pull myself out.
All right, so do an athletics check for that one.
Okay. Natural
Hey!
20 for a 28.
Yeah, so
He
Just
flings
leaps
us
out.
spinning
So
to the top.
very deftly done. But again, with that said, that they are making a look at each other. That didn't get like the leg rasping. Woo! Wow! Look at that. They're all like, Oh, crap. Who do we just have join the clan?
Oh man, these things really are demons.
That was
He just threw to him and then jumped.
Yeah, that's how did that work?
Oh,
So-
you just have like spider climb in that moment. And you just start walking up the wall, and you're like,
right.
"Oh my god!"
Yeah, the things you say from now on when you're around these beings, because they're always looking for that kind of stuff. So you're being led through multiple chambers, but at this point, the guards are no longer with you.
Okay.
You've seemed to have been accepted into their society by what's just happened.
Okay.
And
So they respond very well to barter. Good to know.
and so any questions for Kizgan? Kizgan, as you're being directed to a sleeping place.
What more specifically is the Murmuring Sea? I know it's a place of testing. They communicated as much, but how will we be tested?
It is a place where the unaware are brought to an elimination of resource. That for those that have less awareness of who they are and where they are, the Murmuring Sea will eat them.
Okay.
Oh, I was about to express frustration with their species' inability to use specifics, and then the sea will eat them. Whoa!
Got it.
And by your context of a sea, they have no similar context to what a sea even is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be quicksand. It could be.
An ooze.
Right. Yeah.
So
Could be just a different hole in the ground.
Jonah Hill.
do you have other questions? Which I guess I'm imagining.
Can you take us to our house?
Yeah.
Well, you're being directed
we're
through this chamber. It is as though you are in what's tantamount to like a big manor.
Yeah, I think we've been given rooms in the keep.
Ah,
Yeah.
Is the council number limited? If we become Mervac, do other people need to not be Mervac?
Mervac is different. Only on rare occasions have Mervac been allowed. Never before 3 Mervac at once.
when was last Mervac?
What is a Mervac?
Sisters who are different in their composition.
Okay, so a different kind of spellcaster to the typical.
And there are only 6 to the council. There
And-
are always 6.
And what is Shitakatan?
What?
The voice that they wanted to hear in the council. They said when this council hears the voice of
No, when they wanted to rule the city, is what I was getting from that.
Right.
That
Chitakdan is the city you're in now.
yeah,
And they're saying that when
they want to be leaders
when
of it.
these minds are calling the shots.
Yeah, that.
Got it.
Right. Yeah. So essentially, we're paying for our passage to the surface with a coup, by the sound of things.
Well, it's not the first time we've done that.
Yeah.
You know
very
what?
successful terrorists.
We're splitting it now, 50-50, burning down our problems. They're staging political uprisings.
Yep.
I think less political uprisings and more burning down our political enemies.
So we burn it down in one way, either, physical or political.
I think the Razia Tower is still pretty physical.
Yeah, very, very physical. So you're asking these questions, being moved around, and you feel like you're just in like a big stretch of wide hallway.
And then just kind of some logistics for, where do we get resources? When will our equipment be returning to us?
Do you have trees here?
Oh, when you're brought out past like that chamber,
Okay.
All of your gear is there. The
Goody.
bow is still being played with by soldiers out there, but when you show in, without hesitation, they offer it right back to
Okay.
you.
And it's in the correct number of pieces.
really.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. It's collapsible now.
It's only been licked a couple of times. So you have all of your weaponry gear back, and you're again led through various chambers. You actually do go what you would call outside, which is difficult to tell, up various ramparts. At some points, you're climbing on the edge. It just seems like a wall, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of distinction between being on the wall. Is it like a stair? Or could I fall off of this and just take damage when I hit down at the bottom? But then you're taken back inside again, and on a fairly nondescript area of hallway that has different little niches and little levels on it. Kizgan turns to you, Zelen, and says, "You may rest here." And these giant bugs just crawling all over the place.
Great.
And do you stay there, or do you have any more questions for Kizgan before you part
I
ways?
would like to rest with my companions.
By this point, have I kind of determined that breeze I was feeling was just all of these things moving around, and it was that kind of shifting of air that I was getting at the other end?
Probably. There could be that there's other atmospherics down here that
I
are
bet
changing
there's
air
some
pressure.
amount of water moving through here somewhere because these things
Yeah.
need to drink something.
Yeah.
So there's some water making like a vacuum-like effect, or it's making pressure from some direction or another. But yeah, you do think that this is that weird smell to the air. This is the source. But what actually moves it hasn't been in your field of view yet.
Okay.
Kizgan says that is unheard of. But as Muravac, we shall find a place, and starts leading you
Why
through.
is it unheard of?
Because all those rest wherever there is a spot to rest.
Yeah.
And then you're taken through another series of rooms and hallways. And again, there's always seems to be some of these drones moving through on whatever their task is. But you're found.
And servant's gonna servant.
But you find a place that has a half dozen niches, and there's nothing else currently like resting in this room. And you're directed. This shall be your place of rest.
Thank you.
In the long hall that was by the entrance with the bright light, you will find food and other things you might need down below.
Oh, I'm so curious what their
Food is
consideration
like-
of food is. Yeah.
Given the amount of chitin they use in their tool making and structures, I'm betting it's drones.
Yeah.
It's either drones or the drones farm something.
Yay, cannibalism.
All right,
Is it
so-
cannibalism if they're non-sentient?
So you guys are
For them, they're at
as-
least the same thing.
as alone as you've been since before you encountered these things, even though periodically a drone does just cut right through this place.
Yeah.
Any talk among yourselves, any thoughts or plans for what's going to happen next?
We need to get it off here.
Yeah.
I don't think they have an ability to lie. Like when they said that they'll lead us out if we help them, I think that really is the truth. And the main feeling I got from Shatask was economics of resource. So as long as we can prove and continue that as long as we can sell them on efficiencies, that I think is the key word for them.
Yeah, but we
Right,
don't want to
yeah.
become too useful because then they might not let us go.
Well, I think they will honor a bargain. I don't think we should go quite so far as taking that as they won't lie. I think they'll lie if it's the most efficient, just like how Vulcans will kill a planet if it's the most logical.
And especially because they are in this moment trying to stage a coup. Which,
Yeah, they're trying
what's
to-
not dishonest about that?
Yeah, they're trying to usurp the current ruler.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
So
good
I
point.
think they can, as a rule of thumb, be taken at their word. They'll hold a promise. Once you get them on their word, done. But it's just, how true is it?
So is there anything that we can think of that we know about just ants?
That'd be your department.
Yeah, beyond the fact that you can burn them with a magnifying glass. That's a good thing
What's a
to think about.
magnifying glass?
Wow. You probably do know what that is,
Well,
actually.
you need a sun, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point.
I think for,
Aha, that's their biggest defense here is we have
Yeah,
no
right.
sun to
we
burn
have no
them
sun
with.
and no giant magnifying lens.
All right, so
I think for now, we rest, we resupply as we can, and we do what we can to gain some social capital. It might be we find another avenue out, either en route to whatever the Murmuring Sea is, or as a later stage of the bargain.
Do we
Yeah.
want? So we're going to delay finishing this mission, or are we going to go ahead and set out on this quest as quickly as we can?
Let's take care
I
of
want
this
to
as
rest
quickly as we
because I
can.
want all my spells back.
Right, yeah. We'll move expeditiously, but this is going to take some time.
Okay.
all right, so then in the immediate present, you guys finally do get some rest.
Yeah. Shed armor. I want to sleep comfortably.
Now there you go. Now what do they think about that if he's taking
well,
his armor off?
Only drones are moving through at this point.
Okay.
None of the ones that seem to be self-aware.
And what do the herd animals think?
Yeah, they apparently don't even care.
No, it's more
and
clicking.
Moving through periodically. And we'll say that you guys, there is no encounter. You're actually
Probably the safest
fairly
we've been in a
safe.
while.
It's about the safest you've been down here to date. That you wake up sometime later. The quality of the light is the same. Quality of the air is the same. There's no dusk or dawn equivalent. But you're just awake. You've rested enough. Or probably two of you wake up, then wake up the other one, whoever that person is. And very soon after that, Shatazk is in your minds, approaching, saying, "It is time for us to move. Isk and Thovit are ready for us, and we shall head now to the Murmuring Sea."
Thanks for listening. If you hate swarms of insects, especially giant ones, as much as I do, tell me about it at The Empire's Edge on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're seeing about bribing Matt into not doing anything else with bugs, so kick us a couple bucks at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge.